Hi, so it's been 5 months since my last upload, and now there are 3 more enemy types, and they're not balanced at all. So let's see if we can fix that. Let's first look at the different enemy types. Right now I have this little code here that's going to spawn them in a way that I think seems fair. It gives the player time to learn the game and get upgrades. But I also want to be able to show you what they look like, what the enemies are like. So we're going to comment that out and then do if random is less than or equal to 0.001. Actually, there. And let's do this guy first. He appeared in the first video, or the last video, but I think it's only a good idea to get caught up again. So here he is. He's called the enemy fighter, or sorry, enemy scout, and he has very little firepower. Depending on how you have your shield configured, you might not even be able to take damage from this guy. See? So definitely want to change that balancing system because the player really should be able to take damage from this guy. And they have very low health, so they're easy to defeat. Alright, next guy. So we'll swap out that with this guy. This is the bomber, and his deal is that he actually can fire 2 lasers at once, and they do a whole lot more damage. Except that they're not balanced correctly, and I just changed the way that damage works, and apparently these guys aren't strong enough to penetrate my shields anymore. So that's a problem. Now if I drop my shield power a bit, you'll see they start to do damage. So that's a good thing. Okay, next let's do the fighter. There he is. These guys can fire on an angle, which means that they don't have to be directly in front of you to hit you. They also tend to cover the entire screen in bullets. And if there are enough of them on screen, it can actually hurt performance. I have a pretty good computer, so it's not too bad for me, but I imagine it would be bad for someone else. Oh, you also just saw the upgrade drops. Those are basically something that the higher level enemies drop to help the player get more advanced gear as the game goes on. It upgrades your weapons, your movement, speed, and your shields. Moving on. We've got the new guy that I added today. He's called the Cruiser, and I think he's a bit ugly. I think I'd want to work on the design a bit more, but that's what it looks like right now. He is a big boy. I think he's also the first enemy in the game to have negative space. So that's interesting. I think he's also the only enemy type to have more health than the player. He also is able to hit you on both an angle and going straight. So he has 4 turrets in total. The 2 in the center go straight, but the ones on the sides can go on an angle. Alright, next let's look at balancing them. Alright, so The damage system has recently been reworked, and by recently, I mean within the last hour. And the way it works now is we've got this function, it's called damage, that was already there, but it's been completely rewritten. So now, we take in an amount of health that the laser should do, assuming that the shields are at minimal power. Next, based on the level of the shield and the amount of power currently going to that shield, we are dividing that damage value. So you're getting a fraction of that. And then if the fraction of the damage value ends up being less than 1, we're going to basically roll a dice. And if you get unlucky, you're going to take 1 damage. Otherwise, you'll take none. So if we want to make the player weaker, we need to start them off on a lower shield upgrade level to begin with. So if we look up here, the default is actually 3. We'll make it 1. And let's see if that actually makes the player more vulnerable. Ideally, this should... yeah, it does a good amount of health. I'd like it to do more, though. Alright, so let's buff the enemy cruiser, then. How does 14 laser strength do a sound? Also, if you look here, there's actually a little bug with the health bar, where if I move forward, the bar actually goes up 1 pixel. I have no idea why that happens. If someone wants to read the code on GitHub and tell me why that's happening, that'd be much appreciated. I honestly have no idea why that's happening. Alright, yeah, it looks good to me. I'd like them to do a bit more damage, though. So, let's put it at 16. I think we're getting close to the amount that I want to deal. These guys actually have their AI pretty much copy-pasted from the bombers. Only difference is that they're bigger. Okay, that looks fair to me. And they have a pretty high fire delay. They have to wait 2 minutes. Or no, sorry, 2 seconds between firing. Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the fighter now. This guy, I think, doesn't do enough damage either. If the cruiser does 16, the fighter should do 12. Bomber, let's set to 8, and then scout to 4. Okay, and then let's go back to the level code, and let's spawn in a new scout. Ideally, I want a player who is on default, the default loadout here, to take some damage from an enemy scout. So that's good. We are taking 1 damage from an enemy scout. That's very good. Okay. So hopefully we'll take maybe 2 from a bomber. Maybe 3. Let's see what that happens. See what happens there. Yeah, 4 actually. That seems good to me, especially since it actually has 2 lasers, so each one's actually doing double what a scout would do. That sounds good to me. Okay, and next let's do the fighter. These guys I'm not so sure about, just because they have that angle thing. So we'll see what happens with them. Also, from a distance, they're not that great at leading their shots, so they have a tendency to miss. Okay, looks like we lost there. Let's try setting our shields something higher than default. I like to put my shields at about 6 power. Okay, it looks like you're still taking about 1 damage per shot from that. What happens if I sacrifice some speed power? And wow, I'm dead. Okay, let's divert all power to shields. So now we're at strength 12 shield. And there we go, now we're taking no damage at all. However, we also have a very weak, let's see. I mean, it takes forever to kill that guy. Okay, so yeah, looks like this guy is pretty tough. However, I have set up the game so that these guys won't show up till a few minutes in, so hopefully we'll have gotten some upgrades and you won't need to, divert all your power to shields. Let's do... Alright, let's do this guy next. And let's see, I should get pummeled pretty quick, right? If they could actually hit me. Wow, they are not particularly good at aiming. But when they hit you, they do 4 damage, looks like. That's a bit low, I think. Let's increase their laser strength to 20. That also means that if you had a shield strength of 1, meaning that, you had like 0 power set going to shields, that's a one-shot. Okay, so at default strength, looks like you get killed in about 3 shots. Like, just there I got hit by 3 lasers from that guy at once. Let's get just 1. Okay, that's 5. That guy missed. That's 5 more. 5 more. Okay, so 4 shots, actually. Okay. I think that sounds fair. So now, let's test out my spawning code and see if it's any good. Usually it takes a few seconds for the first fighter to show up, or the first scout to show up. That's intentional because I want players to have a few seconds to configure their shields how they see fit. I like to put about half and half. So half my power to weapons, half of it to shields, and none to speed. I am thinking about making a small change to how weapons work to encourage players to put some power into speed. The way it's going to work is by upgrading speed, you can actually improve the fire rate of your turret. I'm not sure that makes too much sense, so let me know in the comments if you think that's a good idea or not. And if I think it's a good idea, I might implement that, and then you'll have to actually use all 3. So now, let's see how our balancing does. Before I made any changes, I was able to survive, usually, I was able to survive long enough to encounter a couple fighters, and then die. Let's see if I can make it to the cruisers this time. And of course, the cruisers didn't exist till today, so actually it should take a while before they start showing up. Oh, by the way, you cannot pause the game by pressing escape. I don't think that was in there in last video. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like the odds of a cruiser spawning are very low. Let's set that to 04. That'll bump up the odds. And of course, because this game is entirely open source, or it's all on GitHub. You can download all of it and configure this how you want, so that if you want to play a certain way, that's entirely up to you. So yeah, the rest of the video is just gonna be me trying to play the game. I don't really have anything else I wanted to show off today. If I see anything I want to mention, I'll talk about it. But yeah, rest of the video is going to be me trying. Actually, that should be a separate upload, I think, because otherwise it's gonna be bad for viewer retention. Plus, you guys don't want to watch that on this small window, do you? Alright, so that'll be it for this video, and then I'll do another upload maybe tomorrow of me trying to get as far as I can in this game. Alright then, see you in the next upload, whenever that happens. Hopefully tomorrow. We don't know yet.